Where focus goes, energy flows. So focus your energy on continuous learning and stop wasting time thinking about looking smart. Build resistance, build vulnerability, build courageousness, and face adversity with a smile. Become comfortable with uncomfortable. You know, the only person that you need to prove anything to is you. Imperfect action trumps perfect inaction. Stop wasting time and get on with it. Failure is part of learning, so start learning by taking action.
Christian Lavolsi, it is Wednesday. We are here for the hot seat. How are you going today?
I'm great.
We've got two more sleeps until we are with our Evolve clients over in Adelaide, coming to your home ground.
Yeah. It's the middle of Fringe here. It's going to be 39 degrees on Saturday, so it's Adelaide summer has arrived very late. This week has been 33, 33, 36, 37, 38, 39. But it's amazing. It's a beautiful day outside, and I'm very lucky that I have big windows looking out to big trees and parks and things. So I get to enjoy it, even though I spend most of my time inside.
It's good to have a view. Well, we're not here to talk about the view. We are here today to talk about accountability amongst leaders. And I'm really excited to unpack this topic with you, as I know you do mentoring for leaders within big companies that you advise as well. So I know you've got some great things to share with us today. Let's get straight into it. My first question for you, Christian, is what structures do you use for accountability within a leadership team? What would you recommend?
Look, in our leadership team, or in those of our clients, we cultivate accountability through what I would call a robust and transparent system, where open communication is at the bedrock. So each leader has a clear, measurable set of KPIs that are aligned with the business objectives, and that ensures that everyone knows, Simone, what success looks like. We implement regular check-ins and not just a familiarity check-in, but a very dynamic, strategic sessions, right? Like even our huddles are very much like that, where we review progress, we confront challenges, and we celebrate wins, right? So this isn't about micromanaging, but it's actually about empowering each leader with the autonomy to drive their own area while upholding the commitments that they have to the team. And, we also have, what do we call it? A no surprise policy. So essentially, if there's any roadblocks or deviations that, that need to be, they're communicated immediately. And that fosters a culture of trust as well as proactive problem solving. And so that's sort of what I try and do, not only in our own organization, but what we do across all of our mentoring programs and even our one-on-one retainer clients. And I guess the other thing is that we hold a quarterly, we always hold a quarterly leadership day as a reflective learning and forward planning tool, which reinforces all of our shared goals and commitments to our company. Now, that you just talked about our Evolve members coming to South Australia this time. We're in Brisbane in June, and then Sydney in September, and then Melbourne in December. That's the quarterly planning. So even though our mastermind has got nothing to do with leadership, so to speak, it's the fundamental building blocks that we build for people, the bedrock, where we teach them all the skills and processes of how to adapt in their own companies. And a lot of that is the stuff that I've always built in with our one-on-one clients. And I wanted to always create something that was not just in our own company, not just in the people that, have, that are doing 7-8 figures with, 50 to 100 staff or more. It's also the same principles are applicable to 5-figure businesses. You might be doing $5,000 a month. Well, you can still do all this. You plan quarterly and whatnot, you're not the right fit for our Evolve program, but you can learn those same principles in our Customers in Demand program, for example, where we focus a lot on sales and marketing, but the mentorship still addresses all these elements. So some takeaways, so we can get to the point of this, is define, what people need to do in order to make this happen is actually define clear KPIs for each leader, implement regular strategy check-ins, foster a culture of open communication, empower autonomy, really important to empower autonomy. And as a leader, that's really hard, especially when there's underperformance. But you got to have faith in people. And then you got to host quarterly reflective leadership days, right? Yeah. Some companies even do retreats. We tend to do retreats annually, but quarterly, absolutely. So hopefully that answered your question around that.
That's really great. It's actually brought another question to my mind, and not something that I had planned to ask you today, but I would just love to understand, in your personal opinion, what is a leader? Who is that to you?
A leader is someone you follow voluntarily. That's it. That to me, if you had to describe a leader at its heart and soul, is someone you follow voluntarily. But why do you follow them voluntarily is the next question. So a lot of it is shared goals, shared visions. It's alignment, right? Sometimes, from the outside, you can look at leaders and think, why do people follow them? They're douchebags, I get that a bit. There's some people out there that don't like me, and the funny thing is that they're people that have never met me, right? And so, and why? Because often we can project an alter persona in the public domain that isn't really us, And as I've recently filmed a documentary. Self-servingly, I'm the star of the documentary. But it was actually a client of ours who runs a leader immersion program who, when she first met me, she judged me, and she's a psychologist, and she felt so bad that she judged me. And if it wasn't one of our other raving fan evangelist clients who said, no, you really need to go behind the curtain and have a look at what these guys teach. And when she did, she fell in love with what we do, but also realized that she made a serious error in judgment. But it wasn't, because it's the persona that I demonstrate in a public domain that will vary from time to time, depending on how I feel, whatnot. So she decided, Simi Wright, a big shout out to you, you're an amazing human being. She decided that, hey, Christian, I want to do a documentary, and it's got to be on you. I'm like, what are you talking about? And that's because I actually did her leader immersion program. And, I've done a lot of work in this space, and I still got some really valuable insights out of it. But what I learned was about this dark and bright side. And so she wanted to really demonstrate to people what that was. And so I had to be really vulnerable, and it was really hard. And it's probably the first time that people will see the mask. There's no mask. There was not even any makeup. It was terrible. I can't believe it. But they did a great job with the lighting. But it got people. I think it'll get people to see. I think Simi's titling it "Don't Judge a Book by Its Cover," cool. Which is quite fitting. But we had a really good 3 hours, 4 hours of filming. It was really cool.
When's it coming out? When is it really?
I don't know. I'm not in control of it. I'm not in control of the edits.
We'll keep everyone in suspense on that one.
Look, I haven't seen anything, so I don't know. There's an element of me being nervous, and there was it was a very candid conversation. So I don't know what will come out of it, but the journey itself was amazing, and I think back to the point is, so what really is a leader? A leader is someone you follow voluntarily. People, you've got your own tribe, and when I did that leader immersion with Simi, I quickly realized how lucky I am and how grateful I am as a person to be a leader, to have a very large group of people that follow me down a rabbit hole, that trust and believe what I tell them. And so I have a significant responsibility to those people. And, you and I both know I take that very seriously, probably too much, and I care too much, but that's not going to change. But it develops this incredible loyalty and bond. And that's why we're all excited to be all together, because we haven't been together since December.
Yeah.
This is the longer part of there's almost like a 16-week break. Yeah, everyone's excited. Everyone is coming. That's like, normally there's always one or two people that can't make it. I mean, Holly's coming, and this is the first time since she's had the baby. And so, I mean, it's insane. So we've got, and I mean, I really miss the team. Even though we hang out, we're going to hang out after this call for our weekly jam. There's nothing better than bringing your people together under the same roof. Like, Zoom does not compare. And so for us, that bonding that happens for 2 or 3 days, it sets us up for the next 90. And that's what we were talking about before. So hopefully that answers your question.
Yeah, it does. Thank you. I wanted to ask you as well, how often do you provide feedback to leaders? Now, whether that's inside of an organization or in like a peer context, how does that work in your opinion?
Look, in my approach to leadership, Simone, I view feedback as continuous. And this is what I try and teach people. And some people don't like my feedback. My wife hates my feedback because it's continuous. It's nonstop, right? But it's actually an integral part of our growth. And it's also an integral part of our growth culture rather than a scheduled task. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So to cultivate an environment of ongoing development, as well as adaptability, we like to engage in daily interactions, don't we? That offer opportunities for, immediate and more often than not constructive feedback. This regularly ensures that all feedback is timely and relevant, and fostering an atmosphere where learning and improvement is consistent. Right? Like, you couldn't make...
The reality is we all learn differently, right? And we all interpret things differently, and we all have some form of ego as well. So it's managing all of how you actually deliver what you want to say. And then, we obviously have a no BS approach. So we do things a lot more directly in-house. And some people thrive off things like that, which, I'm one of those people. I don't want the fluff. I just want to be told the feedback so I can then continue to grow and learn. Other people you need to be more gentle with. Otherwise they sort of, internalize things.
Absolutely. And that's the hardest part when you are a no filter, no bullshit leader like me. And so I've got to be really selective about the people that I surround myself with, because, if you can't take the heat when the heat's served, then I'm probably not the person you want to be around, because I have a boundless amount of empathy for people, but when we're when we're going for goals and results and we play to our values, and then we're not meeting our values, that shit pisses me off, and I can't sugarcoat that for anyone, right? So for me, the last 6 months have been probably the most challenging, because I have forced myself to empower you guys as a team. And, if we were going to be honest with ourselves, like we were this morning on the call, the results aren't there, right?
Yeah.
And so, I've given everyone that chance, and now I'm diving back in, but I'm not doing, I'm showing, right? And I think that's the characteristic of a leader, is that you can go, all right, you guys suck, and then I'm just going to do it myself. Well, then you're an idiot. You're not a leader, right? You've got to go in and say, okay, well, we gave this a fair go. You guys had the boundaries. You had your boundaries. You had your opportunities, but it didn't work. So what didn't work? Let's go and assess that. And that's the feedback, right? So let's go and assess that. And then let me jump in, and I won't move the camera, but I've been drawing like crazy all over my desks. I hope it comes off. Me, I love my big 2.5 meter white desk. And then I hung out with Bonnie for a bit this morning, because I had a client move a time slot, and we just mapped out something really simple. And, she was like, oh my God, where did this come from? I said, well, I've been just sitting down thinking about what hasn't worked, the steps that haven't worked, and and then even yesterday, like we sat down, we had a massive feedback loop in our morning session. We jammed out, in our weekly. No, that's today. What did we do yesterday? Oh no, I just took Monday morning. I just took hours on our call, didn't I? See, so it's that impromptu-ness. But I think what I'm trying to demonstrate to the listeners that you're taking your time to be here is you don't have to have a structured system when it comes to feedback. You can, and you can do your PRs, your performance reviews and all those bits and pieces, but you can't wait a year, right? And, so we have one-on-ones every single week, and we implement this in all of our clients too. So it's not just in our masterminds, it's not just in our own companies, all 5 companies. It's also in all the clients that, I'm chairman of companies. So I will sit down with the team at Bohu Engineering, and 4 years ago, oh my God, it's 3 years now, right, that I've been chairman there. Amazing group of people, phenomenal 30-year plus family business, moving up generations. And, we taught the same scalable system to create predictable results. And when you hit a crisis point, because you've got these very structured feedback loops in place, guess what happens? The crisis is averted, right? So there's a whole bunch of reasons. So, while daily feedback is valuable, Simone, for those immediate adjustments as well as recognition, right? It's complemented by the more formal structured feedback sessions, right? So these are what we would call, monthly leadership sessions. Now, we, in our business, don't do them. Sorry to all my other customers out there that I preach that you should do them. But that's because we are very, very agile as an organization. So we do a lot of the daily. We do and we do a weekly, right? So the monthly isn't really as important to us, but we do a monthly game plan session with our clients, right? But for us, the quarterly is really important when we all get together. So, but this is all about, the predefined KPIs and the objectives. It's the dual approach, as I call it, of combining that immediate, right, or the immediacy of daily feedback, as well as, as well as guiding towards that personal and professional development goal. But moreover, look, that semi-annual depth reviews are also scheduled in, but the annual is, in my opinion, the big important one. And if you've done all those little steps throughout the year, Simone, it just gets easier, right? So that's really, really important. So I guess a few takeaways from that for those of you that are on, and we've got a whole bunch of listeners, which is amazing right now, is, and drop us a comment in the chat if you want. If you're on LinkedIn, we can't see them, but if you're everywhere else, we can. But incorporate daily touch points, right? Schedule those monthly feedback sessions. Conduct semi-annual reviews, right? Instead of relying just on the annual PR. The other one, always foster a culture of feedback that provides that creates a rich environment for it, right? So feedback loop and a culture of feedback is so important in any organization, but particularly a growth organization, right? And by a growth organization, you might be a business owner or an entrepreneur starting out. You're doing $5,000 a month. The same principles apply to you than a $20, $30 million engineering firm that's going to 40 and 50, right? And so rely on all those feedback tools that are there, because the things that I've given you and the chat we've just had, it's all about that flexibility in your framework, but the flexibility in your feedback is far more important. So I hope that helps.
Yeah, it does. Definitely a lot of great information to sort of digest and take away onto that. I wanted to switch the gear a little bit now, and you did mention this word before, but I want to break this down a little bit further. Recognition in a place for leadership. Now, often leaders are paid a higher level than other people to lead and to manage and do those sorts of things. Do they still need a recognition type scenario inside of the business?
It depends what you define as recognition, right? So, and I think you can't isolate recognition between income streams. I think that recognition has got to be across an organization, whether you are the leader or whether you are a member of the tribe, right? So I'm going to take that angle because I think that's the angle that I talk to. But for recognizing the contributions and achievements of the leader or the leadership team, the effectiveness of the recognition forms the hinges on the capacity in order, Simone, to resonate both personally and professionally. Okay, so realistically, hence why I'm saying it doesn't really matter whether a leader should be recognized. I mean, a lot of leaders, be it introverts or extroverts, they do have egos, right? Everyone has an ego. Like I've met some of the most humble people in the world, and clearly I have not met Mother Teresa, but I have read about Mother Teresa and people that interviewed her, and even they said that Mother Teresa had an ego. Right? Now, ego's not a bad word. We associate ego with bad because that's what the negative naysayers want to associate it with. But the truth is that ego's a good thing. If you don't have, Jim Collins talks about level 5 ambition, and yet people talk about ambition as being greedy. Mate, Wolf of Wall Street, greed is good, right? Not really. But it's if greed is a word that I go, greed is not good. But if you flip that and you call that ambition, right? And you're going to do it with ethical behavior, and you're going to take people on that journey with you, then ego is good, right? And ambition is great. So, and that, by the way, Jim Collins wrote Good to Great for anyone who's interested in reading an amazing book. I'm pretty sure I've read it now 5 times. So leaders driven by a blend of vision and as well as dedication value recognition that acknowledges their unique contribution, Simone. So personalized gestures such as a tailored note or a one-to-one commendation underscores the significance of an individual's efforts, but also creates alignment with the organizational goals. So, I was recently on a call to someone who was a former client of ours in the US just before this call, and I don't take compliments very well, as most people know. I get quite squirmish in the chair, and I said, "Look, stop giving me compliments. I give myself plenty already, right?" And he was just like, "It's so funny. I love doing that to you," but he said something really important. He said, "I might not be working with you at the moment, but I'm writing something at the moment, a book, and you're part of that journey. You contributed significantly to where I am today." And that stuff really blows my mind. We're going off to Europe with the family, and one of my clients who's become one of my friends has asked me to be godfather to his daughter. That's I guess the part, going back to Simi, that's the part that Simi wanted to showcase to the people. It's not, don't judge the book by its cover, and leaders, I want recognition, right? I don't go looking for it. And when I get it, I get quite embarrassed. But a lot of leaders will talk it up because we need to fuel ourselves and remind us why we're doing it. Because a lot of us suffer from imposter syndrome, right? Yeah. Most high
recognition really is a tool for motivation. Is that what you're saying?
Well, it's beyond motivation, because motivation doesn't last for very long. But inspiration, Simone, inspiration, right? Like, when someone, I know when I've said to you, "Hey, I think you did a really good job there," and it's like, "Yep, thanks," right? Like it's because I don't give that many compliments, so when they come out, they are good, right? I mean, and that's the same thing, because I don't think you should reward mediocrity, right? Like if you are a high performer, right? I'm not going to say to you, "Hey, every time you've done a great job." No, right? But when you do something extraordinary, like my children, and I've had to learn this. My wife has reminded me 1,000 times that I've had to learn this. Right? My son this year is thriving at school. Now we're talking about a boy who's, borderline ADHD, borderline dyslexic. The school's asked us to go and have $2,000 worth of psychology testing just to verify. But Lucy and I both know where he's at. Mate, he's played piano for 2 years. We spent a fortune on lessons. He hated it, right? We even bought a piano, right? That was a great financial decision, right? Then we got rid of the piano. Now my daughter wants to learn piano. It's like, come on. But he then was given a cello to learn for a year, and never practiced. Did what he needed to do. Did well, This year, he wanted a saxophone because he's playing in the big band. A kid last night was jamming like a rock star because he's found something he loves doing. And with Leo, he's a confidence player, right? Whether it's football, whether it's athletics, he doesn't have to be winning. He just needs to be a confidence player. And that's the point. That tells me that my son has leadership qualities in him. Because a lot of leaders are confidence players, right? But you got to grow out of that. You got to live in your own skin, right? Does that make sense? And so where someone would probably years ago have looked at someone like my son and gone, oh, no, he's a follower, not a leader, right? Because that's the mistake people made about me when I was a kid, right? You know, hey, you want to follow. Mate, I don't want to follow. And as soon as I got old enough and realized that I could be who I wanted to be in my own skin, I began to lead, became captain of teams, you know, like it was all of those things, became my own solo entrepreneur. Does that make sense? Then guess what? As a leader, you got to learn all these new skills. Yeah. And those new skills is how do you work with people, right? And so being a captain of a team sport, you learn, but you know, you develop an ego, you become one of the best players. You know, the hardest challenge for leaders too is that if no one is supporting you and no one's encouraging you and you're the smartest person in the room, it's really hard to stay motivated too. And so if you are the chairman of a company like I am, my job is to always lift the CEO, always lift the CEO. You know, ultimately I'm a cheerleader. Yes, my role is governance and risk mitigation and strategy, but essentially it comes down to being a cheerleader for the CEO who's normally riding solo. Because you cheerlead that CEO, guess what they'll do? They cheerlead their management team. And, you know, I often get asked this question. I can't believe I'm saying it. I often get asked this question in private. What makes you a good chair? And I actually say to them, I'm a great cheerleader to the CEO. Now, I also don't give out compliments. So the cheerleading is actually reflective of the work they do. Right? Yeah. Now, my role is also to recruit the CEO in most cases, right? With a selection of the board. So guess what? We're not recruiting rubbish, are we? Right? You know, it's so there's all of these elements. I mean, I could talk about this all day long, but
I know this is the topic you love.
Look, I love it because I've had to spend so much time in it, and I would have to say I'm not the best leader, right? Like and anyway, Simi thinks it's hilarious when I say that. So does one of my professors from uni, Ruchi, who is a global leadership expert in behavioral psychology too, and workplace psychology. But you know, I'm fascinated by the topic because you know, you could be motivated and inspired by me, and I could be hated by others, right? Like, so you've got to also be quite selective in the tribe, in the people that you create as a leader, and this is why some organizations, when they bring in a new leader, a whole bunch of people leave. You know. And I see that a lot. And I'm okay with that. And I'm prepared with that. Again, that's experience, right? So, but back to the recognition, I think it's really important for all layers of recognition, wherever you might be, whether you're the leader or the board is looking to you, it's all about professional development opportunities. It's understand whether a person likes public or behind doors recognition. I'm not a huge fan of public recognition, but my alter ego loves it. Right, so like my own ego, you know, and when I was young, I won a lot of awards, big awards, and there's nothing better than having your name called out, your heart's pounding before it, your name gets called. By the way, losing sucks, right? But when you win, you get it's like all of a sudden there's a sense of humility when you win, even though your ego wants to win. There's an element of humility that you learn because for me, as I've gotten older, I've realized that it's less about me, but more about the people that lost, right? Because I want to lift them up because I wouldn't be as good as I was if it wasn't for the other people in the room that push you, even though they're competitors or they're external people. And a lot of my friendships are from people that I competed at the Ernst & Young Entrepreneur of the Year program. Like I built relationships with them and I lost. Right, on a national scale, like, you know, so the reality of it is, I sat there and I then went, well, these guys are amazing. I want to hang out with these people. Yeah, and so you know, that's where leadership I think really comes in, and you know, to me, I wish that I was a smarter leader when I was younger. I wish I had invested more into learning about leadership, as a 25-year-old than now as a 46-year-old man. And I mean, also having children teaches you a lot about leadership. But the other thing, so back to this, so recognition, you can also have, really cool things like equity and profit sharing. I've tried that in the past. I don't find that it works as effectively as it needs to be. And certainly the reason is that people still get comfortable. If you give equity and profit sharing to the wrong people who don't have that ownership mentality, right? Even though they may be the best employee in the world, that cannot transpire. It doesn't transpire. It's like even when you bring on partners on an equity basis, like in the consultancy firms, that can be its challenges. But I think ultimately, if I wrap this up, because we've got to get onto the mastermind call, don't we? We've got to. I think everyone should look at implementing a leadership acknowledgement program, setting up a thing like a leader development fund. We've done that in the past. We've sent you guys to study and do other bits and pieces too. Not that any of you really enjoyed that. Establishing, excellence in leadership awards. Lift, one of my very proud clients, and Lauren's become a dear friend of mine. I spend a lot of time with Lauren. Lauren's the CEO and the founder of the most incredible day hospital that I think is in all of the world, servicing cancer patients with cancer and providing them with prescribed exercise medicine, which is revolutionary anywhere in the world. It's a very novel concept. I get the privilege of being chairman there and being the sounding board for one of the smartest women I know. And I know a lot of smart women because a lot of our clients are women. So you're all smart, just in case. I know most of you are going to watch this at some point. But I want to single her out because she's demonstrated true leadership, particularly in the last 4 months. And one of the things is she's put in a leader development program. We built it in there. And it's actually our core values. So a member of each team every 6 months is awarded a prize called the Mark Neely Award. Mark Neely is quite a well-known South Australian footballer who died of a brain tumour. He was one of our patients. He was the epitome of he embraced all of our values of care, empowerment, and accessibility. And so we created this award. And then as we grew the business again, we said, wouldn't it be cool to now offer individual awards as little baby awards for people? And that to me is a brilliant program. But Lauren is a really good example of a CEO who spends most of her life lonely because she's so good at what she does. She works hard, and as the chairman, I spend a fair bit of time being her cheerleader. It's pretty easy to be her cheerleader. She's fantastic. So, but it's about being there for people. But the last few months, she's worked incredibly hard. And I think the reason why I'm talking about it is she's rung me twice while we've been on this call. And she's actually having some time at Writers Week, which she deserves. But I guess what I'm saying is leadership can come in different shapes and sizes. Yeah. It's like us humans. And, whether you're an introvert, whether you're an extrovert, it comes down to accountability and growth as an individual, but also for your team. And, for those of you listening, I think that's super important is to understand that leadership goes beyond the boundaries. And if you're not a leader, doesn't mean you can't demonstrate leadership qualities. Simone, one thing I was going to say, man, my tan is looking good. You are going to look so white next to me when you arrive on tomorrow night.
Tomorrow, I know. I'll have to get my fake tan out for sure.
I was sitting here and I'm just like, wow. Because I've got all the lights are on. It's just I've just realised that after being in Noosa for a week and then being in the pool for the last 3 months, I'm really getting dark. I got to try and keep this darkness. So when I fly over to Europe with the family and to see Jamie in Ireland, they're all going to be white. So
yes,
it's like I'm going to be this cool maroony colour. It actually has a very slimming effect on camera anyway, not in person. But look, I think that's a really cool topic, and thank you for asking those questions. And I know those questions come from people that frequent our content. And yeah, it's really cool to be able to share that information with people, and I hope that people got a really nice taste of leadership, accountability, and growth, and how it kind of works really neatly together.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for your time and your insights, Christian. And I know personally, I really enjoy the fact that we don't just talk about this, we demonstrate it internally within our companies and also teaching that to our clients, which I think is really amazing. So Christian Lavolsi, thank you very much for your time as always. This has been The Hot Seat. We'll be back next Wednesday and I'll see you in person tomorrow afternoon.
Love it. I'll see you then. Thanks, Simone.
Working with Christian is a game changer. Hi, I'm Adrian Lee from GrowthLink Coaching and Consulting. I started working with Christian in August 2020 as his LinkedIn growth consultant. We worked together on his LinkedIn brand for about 12 months before becoming business partners in Growth Outsourced late 2021. Christian is a hidden genius. He helped me break through a significant financial target by restructuring my growth consulting online business offer. I don't know of any one person who can give you so much focus, clarity, and structure to live your purpose and get shit done. He holds you accountable to your words and gives you the tough love when you need it. I love his no BS approach to business and life. Everyone needs a Christian Lavolsi in their life. Do whatever you have to work with Christian. This is just the beginning for us, and I am super pumped to continue growing together. Thanks again, Christian.
Are you ready to start taking action on your business? Would you like to spend more time with your family? Then call 1300-643-229 and start building momentum right now. I know you're busy. In fact, you are so busy that you don't have time to work on your business or yourself. Often tossing and turning at night, worrying about the how-tos and the cash flow. How on earth can you possibly get off the hamster wheel so that you can take a helicopter view to see where you'll be in 90 days, 1 year, or 3 years from now? In this program, I will take you from sleepless nights to blissful sleep. You'll have more time with your family and you will have the clarity and direction so you can grow and flourish. Call 1300-643-229 now and start building momentum.